Chicago's Wrigley Field isn't just a baseball stadium. It's more of a ballpark, and a very old one at that. Built in 1914, Wrigley's hosted Major League Baseball for 76 seasons. It's been the site of many historic events, such as Game 3 of the 1932 World Series, when the mighty Babe Ruth hit his allegedly called home run shot. The Cubs' Gabby Hartnett enshrined himself into Wrigley's folklore in 1938 when he hit the famed homer in the Gloamin'. Also in '38, Bill Veeck planted ivy at the base of the outfield wall. The ivy gave Wrigley a unique look, as did the scoreboard, which is still manually operated. Only day baseball was played here until 1988, when the lights were turned on, sending Wrigley into prime time. And now, in 1990, Wrigley Field welcomes the spotlight once again for this, the 1990 All-Star Game. The day before the All-Star Game is the Gatorade Workout Day, but it seems to be much more fun than work. The All-Stars renew old friendships, or in some cases, make new ones. The atmosphere isn't too competitive, though some do get carried away.
I want you.
Everywhere you look, you'll see the best in each league. Some compare notes, while others are just thrilled to see the stars from the other league.
Love Dennis Eckersley. I grew up in New England. I used to watch him when he was with the Red Sox and stuff, and to be in kind of the same game as him, and now he's one of the best relievers in baseball. It's a great opportunity for me. I just want to shake his hand and say hello.
I always considered a guy like Barry Larkin as one of my sons. It'd be nice to see him and see how he's matured as a player.
I'm looking forward to watching Jose Canseco play. You know, I've heard so much about him. I've only seen him play on television and never seen him in person, so it's going to be a treat for me to watch him.
Many All-Stars also find it a treat to be playing in the friendly confines. Wrigley Field is an unknown park to some, uncommon to others.
It's definitely a strange place, but it seems like when you're up to the plate, the pitcher's right on top of you, so it's a little different aspect of the ball game, especially because it's a small ballpark and the fans sit right on top of the field, and it's a little different setting.
They said it's going to be pretty ugly if the wind's blowing out, so I got some advice on how to pitch when the wind's blowing out, but I'm just going to have to pitch my game. I've pitched in Fenway. How much worse can it be?
Beginning of the season, I knew the game was at Wrigley Field, and my object was to make the All-Star team. Unfortunately, I didn't do it in great style, but I'm here, and I'm looking forward to going out there and playing my first game at Wrigley Field as an All-Star.
Yeah, enjoy it. As long as you're not a pitcher. Pitchers I don't know about, but yeah, this is a nostalgic ballpark. This is great. You know, it's a nice place to hold an All-Star game, and the fans here are terrific, so it should be a lot of fun.
Workout Day is the home run contest, pitting the sluggers of the American League versus the sluggers of the National League. Most of them needed no introduction, but they got one anyway.
He's all cranked up on sushi. He's got a lot of lift. He's brought back the home run trot. Let's give a special welcome to the Motown Mauler, Mr. Cecil Fielder. Come on. And now for the National League. Come on, the National League. Come on, one time, the National League. He hit 21 home runs last week. He's back. He's back. He's beautiful. He's Darryl Wild Strawberry. The local favorite. Perhaps the greatest Chicago second baseman since Tony Taylor. He's from Spokane, Washington. He learned how to do it picking apples off the trees. Now, proud to make his home in the Great Lakes area, Ryne Sandberg. Come on, one time.
The wind wasn't blowing out of Wrigley, and the home run totals were a little low, although the Giants' Matt Williams did deliver a knockout blow. Bill Murray showing that without a mitt, comedy can be a dirty business. Back to the business of the home run contest. Mark McGwire put the American League out in front. The score was tied when up stepped the National League's last chance, hometown hero Ryne Sandberg. No player had hit more than one out of the park, but no one was as familiar with the Wrigley bleachers as Sandberg. Sandberg's first homer clinched the win for the National League, but he still had some more swings. And there goes number 2.
Ryne Sandberg, the individual champion.
The last swing was just a crowd pleaser.
There's number 3.
Sandberg's power show was no fluke. He would finish the season with a league-high 40 homers. The next exhibition of skills was a spectacle for even the All-Stars. It's when they got a chance to admire the great players from other eras.
All right, babe. Okay, thank you. All right.
Of course, that means the old-timers game, where former stars get to show that they've still got it. 52-year-old Gaylord Perry showed he's still young enough to pitch. He's still using his old spitball, but he's a little less secretive about it. Former Phillies and White Sox star Dick Allen delighted the Chicago fans by slamming a home run. The game provided many thrills but little drama. The American League old-timers won in overwhelming fashion, 13-0. The workout day was an enjoyable appetizer, but it was time for the main course. Tuesday, July 10th, All-Star Game Day, where the All-Stars seemed larger than life. Final strategies were perused by managers Tony La Russa of the A's and Roger Craig of the Giants. As game time got nearer and nearer, the excitement level got higher and higher.
I think you can imagine, for anybody who loves baseball, this is a wonderful event, and to be the commissioner of baseball is a fantasy. So I'm thrilled to be here.
There was time for some final preparations and even a few predictions.
Today I'm going deep. Okay.
What'd you dream about last night?
Striking out Conseco. 3 pitches right down the middle of the plate. 100, 101, 102. Right there.
Perhaps a more significant number is 58. That's how many All-Stars were waiting on deck for Major League Baseball's 61st All-Star Game. When it was just about time to say play ball, the weather had its initial say on the evening. Rain dampened the spirits and bodies of those in attendance, but it was only temporary. After about 20 minutes, it was decided the proceedings would go on. First, there were the introductions of both teams, including the traditional handshake of the opposing managers. Craig and La Russa had faced off in the '89 World Series, which earned them the right to meet again here. Next came the introductions of the honorary captains. Al Lopez for the American League and Juan Marichal for the National, a terrific pitcher with an equally great catcher.
Accompanied by his granddaughter tomorrow, here's Mr. Cub, Hall of Famer Ernie Banks.
The local fans got a special treat when Ernie Banks was invited to throw out the ceremonial first ball. After that, it was time for the game to begin. The rain started up again, but the umpires decided to play ball. Cincinnati's Jack Armstrong had already won 11 games, and in his first All-Star appearance was named the National League starting pitcher. After getting Ricky Henderson to fly out, he faced Boston third baseman Wade Boggs, who was making his 5th consecutive All-Star start. Jack Buck and Tim McCarver call the game for CBS.
And a little chopper, and that is trouble for Sabo. Can't make connections, and a base hit for Boggs. Boggs said, I'll take it. I'll take it, thank you.
So with 1 out and 1 on, Armstrong faced the dangerous Jose Canseco, who had already hit 22 homers for the A's. Canseco's an ever-present threat to hit the ball out of the park. Armstrong has his first big challenge of the night. And he wins it. The American League's held scoreless in the top of the first. The National League's first 2 batters went down quietly in the bottom of the first. So with 2 outs, the Giants' Will Clark digs in against the American League's winningest pitcher of the first half of the season, Oakland's Bob Welch, who won 13 games. Welch would go on to win 27 games and the American League's Cy Young Award. But Will Clark gets the best of him here, and the National League has its first base runner. That gives Clark a chance to say hello to fellow first baseman by the Bay, Mark McGwire. It also gives a chance for Clark's teammate, Kevin Mitchell, to face Welch himself and get something going for the National League.
Mitchell strikes out. First strikeout of the inning, and each team left a man in the opening inning, and we have no score.
It's still 0-0 as we move to the top of the third. Dodger flamethrower Ramon Martinez is the National League's new pitcher. Martinez doesn't help himself by walking leadoff batter Steve Sax of the Yankees. That gives Sax the opportunity to help himself.
Sax is going, and he swipes it. It's into short center, but Ozzie is backing it up. So the walk turns into a double, a walk and a stolen base.
After a ground out and a strikeout, Roger Craig employs a bit of strategy. He elects to intentionally walk Wade Boggs in order to get a righty-righty matchup between Martinez and Jose Canseco. Some would say it's a questionable move.
Over there in the American League bench, what are they doing here? Hey, they're laughing at our hitters.
They can't believe it, and neither can I.
So with 2 outs and 2 on, the game has its first dramatic moment. A power pitcher against a power hitter.
Canseco at the plate. He'll try to drive one into the wind, or maybe go the other way against this fellow and try to put the American League on top. Third inning, no score. Crank it up, Ramon.
Canseco grounds into a force out to end the inning, and Martinez wins the power struggle. At the end of 2.5, still 0-0. Dominated this game through the first 6 innings. After Bob Welch held the National League scoreless for 2 innings, Toronto's Dave Stieb did the same. After Stieb, it was the Royals' Brett Saberhagen, and he threw 2 scoreless innings of his own. The National League pitchers were just as tough. Montreal's Dennis Martinez followed his namesake Ramon and kept the American League bats silent. The Mets' Frank Viola was next up on the hard-to-hit parade. And after 5 full innings, both teams had managed a collective 3 hits and 0 runs. It wasn't so much a case of a lack of hitting as it was an abundance of pitching. For those of you enrolled in the School of Good Pitching Beats Good Hitting, this game earns you a diploma with honors. In the top of the 6th, a hitter came through. Wade Boggs singled with 1 out, his second hit of the game. Boggs was removed for pinch runner Kelly Gruber of Toronto. That brought up Jose Canseco for the 3rd time, this time against Houston's Dave Smith. Smith lost the battle and walked Jose, putting 2 runners on for the Blue Jays' George Bell. The rain threatened again, and so did the American League.
Bell crouching at the plate. The runner's going. Struck him out and no throw. A double steal.
So with 2 outs, the American League had runners on second and third. The batter was Detroit's Cecil Fielder, who'd hit a whopping 28 home runs in the first half. He would finish the year with 51, but right here, any hit would be a huge one. Jeff Brantley of the Giants was brought in to face him. Brantley won this battle, and the game remained scoreless. The fans across the street were waiting patiently for an outbreak of long balls, but the wind had picked up and was blowing in, which made it even tougher on the hitters. Wrigley regulars are accustomed to seeing the weather influence games, but if you were new to Wrigley, it helped to have a regular next to you. The rain got much heavier as the American League batted in the 7th, but it didn't dampen the American League's offense.
That one is a tough chance for the shortstop, Dunston, and he is safe, and he really jammed into the base. That's a second hit for Alomar. A good effort by Dunston. It looked like he had no chance, but with that great arm of his, he darn near got him.
After Sandy Alomar's leadoff single, La Russa sent up the Angels' Lance Parrish. The rain didn't seem to bother Parrish either.
Base hit. It'll be first and third with nobody out on the hit by Parrish. Now looks like the American League is poised to take the lead in the 61st All-Star game.
Things were looking up for the American League, but when everyone else looked up, all they saw was more rain. With 2 on and nobody out, the Rangers' Julio Franco stepped in with an opportunity to give the American League the lead. But home plate umpire Ed Montague had another concern. The rain had become too heavy. Franco's at-bat was put on hold. The weather forecasts in Chicago had correctly predicted that it would rain. It now became a question of how long it would last. The only thing to do was wait. The 1961 All-Star game in Boston ended in a 1-1 tie when heavy rains came down in the 9th inning. But that wouldn't be the case here, because after about an hour, the rain stopped and the game was resumed. Julio Franco had waited patiently for his chance to hit, and it finally came against Reds reliever Rob Dibble, one of Cincinnati's nasty boys, so named for their toughness on the mound. The game was still scoreless, but there were 2 on and no one out in the 7th.
Puts the American League on top. It goes deep, and the second run might also score. Parrish's not a good runner, but he is going to be able to dent the plate, and it's 2-0 in favor of the American League as Franco came through on an 0-2 count.
Franco's at-bat had been delayed by more than an hour, but it was well worth the wait. The American League had taken the lead. 1 out later, with Franco on third, it tried to add to that lead.
Second and third, 1 out. And a fly ball might drop. No, it carries out to the right fielder. A tag and a throw by Strawberry at the plate. He is out on the most exciting play of the All-Star game. And it ends the inning. A great throw by Strawberry. And Socha's one of the best at making the tag.
An exceptionally strong throw because Strawberry puts himself in a position to throw. Mike Socha is the best in the business at blocking the plate, and that's exactly what he does, stopping Julio Franco.
Franco was prevented from scoring a third run, but his 2 RBIs gave the American League the lead. The American League pitchers were still in control of the game. In the bottom of the 7th, it was White Sox reliever Bobby Thigpen who kept the clamps on the National League. Thigpen would finish the season with a Major League record 57 saves. Things were starting to look rather dim for the National League, which had been held hitless since the first inning. Braves rookie Greg Olson was delighted just to be at the game, but he and his teammates would be much happier if he could get a hit. With 1 out in the 8th, he faced California's Chuck Finley, the American League's 5th pitcher. And Finley struck him out. It was the 16th consecutive out for the National League. Another of Cincinnati's nasty boys, quite possibly the nastiest, Randy Myers, pitched a scoreless 8th. He was replaced in the ninth by the Mets' John Franco, who was the National League's record 9th pitcher to appear. With no one on and one out, Franco faced Chicago White Sox shortstop Ozzie Guillen, who was making his first All-Star appearance. Guillen went down quietly, but after 8.5 innings, the American League still led 2-0. Leading off in the ninth was the Phillies' Lenny Dykstra, the major's leading hitter with a .360 average. He'd face the A's' Dennis Eckersley, perhaps the premier reliever in baseball. And Dykstra gets a hit, just the second of the game for the National League. With no outs, the National League has the potential tying run at home plate. Eckersley got Roberto Alomar to fly out, and then he struck out Matt Williams. So with 2 outs, the National League's last hope falls on the shoulders of the Expos' Tim Wallach. This is when Eckersley is especially tough to hit.
And a high pop fly stays in play for a fielder. And that's the way this one ends, and the National League is blanked on only 2 base hits. And they only left 4, so they didn't have that many chances.
The American League wins its 3rd consecutive All-Star game by a score of 2-0 and gets its first All-Star shutout in 34 years. Julio Franco wins the Chevrolet MVP award. But this game may best be remembered for the nearly unhittable pitchers of the victorious American League.